Okay, we're
We're good? All right, I will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
right.
Here.
Anyway. Here. Ms. Greenfield.
Here.
Ms. McCready.
Here.
Mr. McQueen. Here. Mr. Rivera. Here. Ms. Rivera.
Here. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News and Courier News, filed with municipal clerk and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 15th, 2022. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with justice. Not having presentations tonight, so we want to approval of minutes from December 12th, January 3rd, and January 9th. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and now it is time for our open session. So if you would like to speak, please either use the raise hand icon or and wait to be recognized. Give us your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anthony will be keeping track of the time. Please know this is not a time for debate. It's an opportunity for the public to make comments. If you want to have a discussion on an issue, please feel free. We'll be either Tom or I will be happy to meet with you outside the meeting if it's something that you feel needs more time. And just we ask that you be respectful to everyone. That's it. So would anyone like to be heard? Do you have anybody here first? Let's give you guys first choice since you came out in the cold. Go for it.
Do you need
You
to
have
come
to
up
stand
there?
on the X.
Okay. All right, so I'll need you to help me through because I have a couple things.
Name and address.
Kathy Peachy, 70 Chilton Street. And you can tell me now, later, because there's another open session, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so some of it I may have to. The first thing is, when I was on the website, I noticed there was both the 24-hour clock and the 12-hour clock. And I found it a little confusing, and I was wondering if that could be unified. At one point it said 1900, and then it said 7 o'clock, and I had to use my fingers.
On the borough calendar.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll have to look into that. I don't
Okay.
know where that was. I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right, thank
You travel from year to year with that?
yes, I know, I have, but just not tonight. Yeah, so that was the first thing. The other thing is about correspondence. Do I need to wait until you talk about correspondence?
No, you can talk about it now because this is for things that aren't on the agenda technically, but they're usually action items. So that's just the discussion item. You can.
Okay, so obviously I want to talk about the, well, I know it's obvious. I would like to talk about the live communication with Zoom. So may I wait for that?
No, you can do that now,
Oh, because that's on the agenda.
but it's not an action item.
Got it. Okay, so the first thing is with the correspondence, I guess, because it's on me, but I think I just learned before I came here that it has to be here by the Wednesday beforehand. And I wrote a letter to y'all on Friday. So I don't know if you received it or not.
We got it. It is in our packet.
Okay.
Right.
In your packet, but did you read it? No.
Yeah.
That's okay. So that's on me. But I think it does go a little bit to the point of, here I've been trying to be participatory and attend meetings and so forth and read and so forth. And even I then, only tonight before I came, in just trying to prepare for the meeting, thought, oh my gosh, that needed to be in by Wednesday. So I don't know that in this situation, the Zoom, that relying on communication beforehand or after is always going to be effective or easy for the town. Not that that's your problem, but you are here representing them, and you've made that very, very clear, and I really appreciate that about each and every one of you. So since you have it, I guess I don't need to read it, which would have been about 3 minutes and 11 seconds anyway. So I would have gone over. It's just really, I feel like the main points are the community rapport, the trust that you've developed already, keeping that open is just one more way to continue that. And I think you've done a good job at it, and I really appreciate it. And again, the idea of the flow of a meeting, you don't always know where that's gonna be or where it's gonna go, so you can't always calibrate what you want to say or a thought that comes, and so you can't necessarily premeditate with a letter. Or, for example, if you hadn't read this, which I guess you would have been welcome to not read, if I understand that, it would have been available until February 13th, right? Like, that's 3 weeks away, so what's the point? I don't know when you're voting on that anyway, but so that's very interesting that I made that mistake. Very interesting. And I didn't do it on purpose. So that's really all. I just think that I like the idea of being functional and succinct. I think the moderators have done a great job. Anthony, I've told him, I think Mr. Matella has done a great job with the planning board, and also the idea of precedent. Certainly, if you as a council don't have to do it, then that they be the gateway so that the planning board and the board of adjustment, that they don't have to, and then it gets more and more and more closed as opposed to being more and more open. So I just hope you keep that in mind. I know you felt strongly, Diane, about, that there are many ways that you can reach it, and I think that's true. But I think this is also another one, and in today's virtual platform, I think it's relevant to keep it open. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Yes.
Hi, I'm Mary Fran Daly, and I'm your librarian, your library director in town, and I'm from Clinton, New Jersey. And I just wanted to share that at our most recent board of trustee meetings, that the library has voted on and established a proposed budget for the 2023 year. And we are also compiling our data and our statistics to share with the state of New Jersey, which is due in March. But I was hoping that the library could come and present what we do, because the more I talk to a few people around town, they're like, oh, I didn't realize we had that. I didn't realize you did that. That I just like for transparency and for perhaps more traffic for everyone to understand what we offer, and for you as the council to understand what we're trying to do and how we're trying to grow. We're also going through the strategic planning process, and we will be seeking your input and insight as possible. And we have a wonderful mini golf event happening on February 4th, and there's some little handouts there.
It's a fun thing. I haven't been to the mini golf. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have a set up practice hole that you can use in the lobby, and it's supposed to be a good time.
Okay.
I mean to say Ms. Daly's been extremely attentive to her new role. She's come in and met with the finance officer, myself, and went over the history of financing, and it was she's off to a great start, asking lots of questions, and
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. And usually, I guess what we usually do is the finance committee meets with the finance committee of the library. That's what we've done in the
It's
past.
in the works, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're just.
Councilman brought it to finance committee's attention, and I know we're trying to find time to schedule. The finance committee hadn't met yet, and we just wanted to do a touch base on the overall budget before we started meeting with library and other constituencies.
Okay.
And Mark Kirk does an amazing job with your finances. He's really so efficient. I don't know if you've ever seen the paperwork he does, but for a volunteer, he's amazing.
And he's got a great history that he understands the organization,
Yeah.
history, the town.
I always
He's a great
appreciate
asset.
when he comes and talks to us. All right, well, hopefully we'll get that done soon. Maybe I know we have JCP&L, the first meeting in February, so maybe the second meeting in February, we can kind of make it a library information night or.
Yeah, I won't be too long. I know. You do know what a library is.
We're good with 10 or 15 minutes. After
Okay.
that, it gets squirmy.
Sounds
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We can publicize it so if people want to learn more, they'll show up. Great.
Thank you. Aaron Duff, 51 Crestview Drive, Bernardsville. Also wanted to speak in favor of keeping the virtual participation aspect of the public meetings. As the mayor mentioned last time, I'm here most of your in-person meetings, and I personally have not noticed any significant issues with the remote participation. There are some little glitches, sometimes nothing. I think that gets in the way of what is always a orderly meeting. And I think the downside, what little they are, outweighed by the benefit of having the increased public participation. Just in a little bit, read the newspaper editorial in favor and just to kind of address a couple of the points that were made. That the council moves slow, usually takes a couple meetings to pass any new laws. That's true when it comes to ordinances, certainly. They need to be introduced and then open for public hearing, but a lot of work is done by resolution. Some big spending, there's significant, business items that get done by resolution, and those don't get posted for the public until usually the Thursday afternoon before the meeting. Sometimes if Mr. Siriano doesn't get the full text, might go up on Friday or even the day of the meeting. So, I think it's asking a lot of constituents to kind of go through, a 50, 60, 75 page, whatever it is, agenda to find, every single item of business. Formulate a cohesive thought and opinion on it, sit down, type it out, send it to Mr. Siriano, time to get it to everybody to read and consider. When the alternative is to, allow them to Zoom and speak to them every 3 minutes. I think, there's a segment of the population that, writing in just isn't going to be a legitimate option. You might have some people with a language barrier. You might have, some folks with, dyslexia or discomfort, writing something like that out. You have people who don't have access to a computer. And that's kind of prohibit their participation if they can't attend a meeting for any reason. I think the other suggestion is like hardship exemptions. I think it's going to be unworkable. I don't know whose job it's going to be to decide whose alleged disability is more worthy of consideration than somebody who has a sick parent or child or whatever roadblock life throws in their way to get into the meetings. What level of disability is going to be sufficient? Do they have to be in a wheelchair, unable to get up the stairs, or if they have a condition that makes it very painful for them to move upstairs? Or they have to come. What about somebody with agoraphobia? They can't be in crowds. Do they have to come? How about somebody who wakes up in the morning and the meeting feels sick? Could be COVID. Do they have to come? And if not, if everybody's going to get passed, then the exceptions follow the rule. And I think it's going to be just really more trouble than it's worth. I know there's definitely that feeling like we want to get back to the way things were. COVID sucked. COVID was a terrible time, and we want to put in the rearview mirror. But I think it would be a shame if we didn't take anything positive from that experience in a way to take the things, the way we used to do things and make them better. And I feel like that's what we have with the Zoom, ability. You can increase, public participation in government. And I don't think the downside is really all that great. So I would keep it. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Anyone else? Right, anybody on Zoom? I see somebody's here.
There's an iPad, let me add all that comes on you. There's an iPad, I don't know what the name is.
Who is that with your hand up?
Hi, this is Mary Ann Strider from Pine Ridge in Bernardsville, obviously. We'd like consideration and approval to sell 1511 Pine Street over the income limit. I know I sent you an email. I wasn't sure if it was going to be discussed tonight or if it could be considered.
Jack?
Yes, I did consult with CGP&H, our affordable housing consultants, and they said that the Fair Share Housing Center has to sign off on it. And they would not do so because we have 350 names on our wait list. So until we exhaust the wait list, that option is really not open to us.
Okay. Did you hear that?
I did hear that. And I guess on the website, the Bernardsville website, under the E-codes for 360, it states that buyer income eligibility list that if they're not provided, let me see if I have I want to read the exact. It's LD-13-8B, which states that the process, if it hasn't provided a prompt occupancy, that we could go ahead and move forward with the Borough Council approval. And I know you had approval, and it might not have been this Borough Council, but I want to think it was in 2015, a low-income home was approved for moderate income.
We have done in the past, But that was in the interim period when COA was really out of business, and the courts had not gotten back into the affordable housing business. So we don't have the same flexibility we had back when we did that one. And the other thing is, what's the definition of prompt? Dan Levin from CGP&H said that they had 17 inquiries, they got 3 formal applications, and the problem is the 2 of them were above the income limit. He said it was just a bad situation, but he's confident that it will be rented in the near future.
Okay.
So what we're being told is that you said 300.
250 on the wait list? On the wait list, yes. Now, I don't know how many of those are still legit, but, you know, we could have to.
So the process is just, because I don't know if she can hear you from.
Yeah.
The process.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I apologize.
So I'll just sort of summarize what the borough attorney just said. So according to his investigation, there's over 300 applicants on the wait list for low-income housing.
Correct.
That wait list has to be exhausted at the state or county level before we can even consider any exemptions to the low-income housing rules.
Yes. And like I said, CGP&H is confident they will get a buyer in the near future.
And are they actively seeking one?
Yeah, they're.
And I think we have to speed that going through those 350.
I think the problem is the wait list is like 2 years old. So you have people on there that have been waiting for 2 years and situations change. So whether it's their income or their household size and
I
kind of an outdated list. I hate to say that, but I just feel like we're going through the motions in this process and it's a lengthy one.
Yeah.
Well, when dealing with the bureaucracy, we have to go through the motions of special.
Yes,
So I don't know if you heard Mr. Pigeon's response. He actually agreed with you, but was suggesting that because this is a state organization, we have to follow the rules and go through their process until we're even eligible to make other decisions.
Yeah, and part of the process will be removing or purging the applicant waiting list, because some of those people probably don't qualify anymore or have purchased somewhere else. So that is part of the process.
yeah.
So Jack, what is the appropriate trigger for follow-up back with council? I'm sure COA is not going to be proactive and let us know.
No, but why don't we put it on 2 meetings from now and check on the status and you know, in the meantime, I'll follow up with CGP&H and see how much progress they've made, if any.
Did you hear Mr. Pigeon's resolution?
I did. I apologize. It's just very frustrating from our end because I feel like we're going through the motions, but after going through 50 applicants and we've gotten nowhere and it's taken 4.5 months, it's like, we'd like to move forward.
That's been a frustrating unit that we've been dealing with 10 years, I think, or more.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Hopefully we'll have a resolution
Yeah.
within the next
Yeah.
2 meetings.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I
Okay,
mean,
thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom wish to be heard? Okay. I don't see any, so I will close the public hearing. There will be another one at the end of the meeting, so if you think of something, feel free. We will move on to ordinances. I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-1941, adjusting the zone district boundary line which bisects property located at 477-1 Brook Road, block 28, lot 46.01. Would anyone in the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Oh, yes.
Russell Stephanie.
Well, you need to come on the little X there, they can't see you or hear you.
All right, Russell Stephanie. My daughter has a property. I just want to thank you guys back in December, especially Chad, realized what had been discussed in the original planning board and giving us the opportunity to make sure we went to that next meeting and talked through it. So thank you very much.
Great,
welcome.
glad to hear, good.
This was the way it's supposed to work.
Yes, you like when it works, right? Would anyone else like to be heard on this ordinance? If not, I will close the public hearing. Chad, would you like to move that one?
Sure, I'll move to pass ordinance 2023-1941, the final reading and adopt as published.
I'll second. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ambeline,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Ms. Samara.
Yes.
I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-1942, adjusting the zone district boundary line with bisects property located at 70 Stone Fence Road, block 23, lot 15. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. This, I believe we were going to continue. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So Chad, you want to move to, we didn't hear back on the plan.
That's correct.
So you would,
I'll move to continue the public hearing for these 2023-1942 to February 13, 23 at 7 PM, awaiting a planning board recommendation on this purpose.
And we, no further notice of publication.
Yes, and no further notice of publication. Thank you, Jack.
you have a second?
Second.
We're doing a roll call on that.
Or you can do voice vote.
Just please vote all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-1943. Ordinance of the Borough of Bernardsville, New Jersey, authorizing the acquisition by purchase or condemnation of the real property located at 210 North Finland Avenue, which consists of a portion of block 125, lot 25, Bernardsville, New Jersey, now owned by Altamare Realty LLC. And this, I believe, is for a senior housing project, yes.
That's correct.
So would anyone in the public like to be heard on this? Yes,
I just have
if
a
you guys, is there people on Zoom can't hear you?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Kathy Pucci, 70 children. I was just curious about the word condemnation. Because, everything I had heard prior to this was non-condemnation, so does this fall under a different category?
Yes,
The senior housing?
it's actually
Explain that,
under
please.
our affordable, Jack can explain it.
Okay.
It's pursuant to our settlement agreement with the Fair Share Housing Center for housing obligation. So it requires us to condemn if necessary. And in this case, it probably will be a condemnation with a negotiated settlement price, which is how they handle the other one.
Yeah, the other properties were our areas in need of redevelopment that, are more under our control. This is really under the court's control.
So affordable housing and the senior housing, that is.
It's all affordable. It's 100%
Oh,
affordable.
senior.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just a senior project.
Good,
And we get special credits for the senior housing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
bonuses.
bonuses.
thanks.
Is that a more appropriate word than special credit?
No,
No,
I was just agreeing with you.
You corrected me interest, and so I made the correct use word credits before, so.
okay. Would anyone else like to be heard on this? Those are good questions. Thank you for bringing that up. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Jay, why don't you move that one?
I move to pass ordinance 2023-1943 on final reading and adopt as published.
Second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Samara.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
Ms. McCready.
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield.
Yes.
Mr. Ambeline.
Yes.
I guess just to call the count, everybody can see every time we do one of these, it makes me take a very deep and pause breath. But it is necessary.
What? Affordable housing.
Yeah, every time we.
Because we're not having it.
It has to
We
happen.
need it, yeah. Well, particularly the senior housing, I mean, that's a project,
This is going to be a good project. For those of you who are not aware, this is going to be a
because
good
we
thing.
have no affordable senior housing in this area, very well, except for Ridge Oak. Yeah, Ridge Oak. I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-1944 concerning sewer connection fees and sewer user rates and allocation and amending chapter 16 of the Borough Code entitled Sewer Regulations. Would anyone in the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Christine, what's your name?
I move to pass ordinance 2023-1944 on final reading and adopt as published.
A second.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Because I asked questions about this last time, and I just want to thank Tom. With the increase of the fees, he answered my questions that The sewer fees are 100% devoted, or sewer and water treatment fees to those processes, and do not matriculate in sort of a larger budget that we have as a borough. And in fact, if we didn't have it covered and it sort of is 1-to-1, then we'd have to sort of draw from our normal budget to actually pay for that if they did happen to go over. So with that, I was comfortable with it, but just to kind of close out my comment from last time.
Yeah. Oh, and that was, oh, when was that, Jack, that we switched over to user fees? Because at one point, all the taxpayers
That's
paid
right.
into the sewer fund. We
About
don't-
10 years or so.
Most of them don't have to, a lot of them don't, so.
And the number is based on a state formula. It's based on outstanding debt, and the rationale is that new connections have to pay on the connection fee.
Right.
New connections have to pay their fair share of the capital fees. And the user fee is based on prior issues.
Usage.
Just, I just want to add, the formula is extremely complicated.
Every state formula.
Yeah. So if you read the ordinance, you really don't know what your increase is gonna be.
No.
So we went through it step by step, and it would amount to up to maybe $13 on the average home for the year.
For the year. Okay, that's reasonable compared to the cost of eggs. All right, Al, would you like to move to the next one? Thinking about the cost of eggs.
Mr. Amline,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes,
Mrs. Mara.
Yes.
All right, Al, now. would you-
okay. I move that ordinance 2023-1945, calendar year 2023 ordinance to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A 445.414, introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, at a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
Second, Cindy?
I'll second.
And this is, I know it sounds scary, but we do this every year and it's just really provides a budget cushion. We haven't ever yet used it, I don't believe, the cap or.
No. So the state allows towns to increase things by 3.5%. And then, what we do is we pass an ordinance that says, if we, by the time we adopt the budget, if we happen not to use that full allowance, we can bank it for future years
Right,
in case we have an emergency, but no more than 3 years.
right, and then it goes away,
And
you haven't used it, and I don't think we've ever used the cap bank, have we?
not to my knowledge.
Yeah. But it gives us that option, should we get in that situation, so,
Standard process for every county.
yeah. We did it in school districts, did it too. Okay, this is just all in favor. Opposed? Christine, you want to move the next one?
I move that ordinance 2023-1946, ordinance providing for the improvement of sidewalks in and by the Borough of Bernardsville in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, and appropriating $250,000 therefore constituting proceeds of grants from the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting 7 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
I'll second. And these, where are these sidewalks? In
West
and Bowling.
and Boulder.
And Boyle, that's right, okay. That's great, that we get that grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So just to clarify, so we have a grant that's in process, or is it already approved?
Approved. It's approved, yeah. This is appropriating money. Yeah. And that was from, that's Safe Streets grant? Okay,
I think that's the one was.
exactly,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Diane, move the next one?
I move that ordinance 2023-1947, an ordinance concerning the Borough Emergency Management Coordinator and amending Chapter 2 of the Borough Code entitled Administration, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning 7 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
Any discussion? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then we'll do the next one, that's kind of housing.
I move that ordinance 2023-1948, amending section 11-4 of the Borough Code entitled Registration and Maintenance of Properties Pending Foreclosure to bring it into compliance with PL 2021 C444 be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7:00 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
I'll second.
Okay. Jack, you want to just explain what that is?
Yes, this is 1948, I'm sorry, Tom, this.
Yes.
Yeah, this, just, we and a number of other municipalities had ordinances requiring, banks or mortgage companies that foreclosed on properties to maintain it in accordance to the local property maintenance code. The state recently passed state legislation, which had more details than it did previously, so this is just to bring in compliance with the new state law. But it's essentially substantive with the state is what we had before.
It does not prevent, 'cause I know one of the things that we did in regards to bank-owned foreclosure properties was to go into lien on those properties and maintenance was not maintained. That it does not obfuscate or nullify that.
It does not.
So we still can do that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One more question, Jack, is do anything to strengthen our position as a borough to deal with bank foreclosed properties?
I think it does in that now we have a state statute back in the.
So at least in the court of law, we have.
Right, we don't have to defend our ordinance of the challenge to the it's there.
So just so I guess the public knows, and the issue has been historically, banks would foreclose. And it's not relevant to them to actually move the property, and they sit and they
Get overgrown.
get overgrown, and they spend years sitting in our borough. So it's an action we took about 12 months ago.
It becomes like a health hazard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had a few of those. Did we do it all? We can vote on it? We did.
We did.
Okay, so Gina, you want to move the next one?
I move that ordinance 2023-1949, an ordinance concerning background checks required of certain borough officers and employees, and amending chapter 2 of the Borough Code entitled Administration, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, February 13th, 2023.
Second.
And what's different about this one?
Yeah, this was preparing the request of the police department. We added a category to those criminal records that disqualify you from being a volunteer or a volunteer or employee that goes into people's houses. It now includes any crime involving possession of a firearm above a certain degree.
All right, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Diane.
I move that ordinance 2023-1950, an ordinance concerning certificate of inspection for residential rental properties, and amending chapter 11 of the Borough Code entitled Property Maintenance, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7:00 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, and this one, I believe, makes the exemption for family members.
That's correct. It was
For fees only, they still have to register and they still have to be inspected.
These,
They
correct.
just don't.
And the housing authority recommended this.
Got it. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Al, what do you next one?
We're at 1951, right?
Yes.
I move that ordinance 2023-1951, reorganizing borough advisory committees and amending Article 5, entitled Boards, Committees, and Commissions, and Chapter 2 of the Borough Code entitled Administration, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing be scheduled for meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, February 13th, 2023.
I'll second. Okay, any other discussion? I think we had agreed on the terms last week.
I just have one update. We had a discussion around shade tree.
Mhm.
And Tom was good enough to connect with the zoning officer. And The zoning officer's recommendation is that we keep shade tree as is because it's referenced in the master plan. And it would be obviously difficult if we tried to change that. That being said, I mean, you know, kind of the guidance of Jack, we could always adjust down the road. How we constitute shade tree. So in other words, it could be made up of environmental commission, rec and green team or something like that. It doesn't always have to be council appointed, right? It could be independent, but we should leave it in the code as is what the zoning officer recommends.
Okay, I think that was.
Everything else
Still in there, yeah.
It's still in there, yeah. Right. We just had talked about whether we dropped it or not.
Or put it under something else.
Right.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to resolutions, any that we want to discuss separately?
I just wanted to ask about 35, correcting the grade of the, is that lowering it or is it?
No, it's actually increasing it. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was more of a eight before that now.
Right, that's on top of
That's correct.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was a correction, but I didn't know if it was up or down.
Always better on for them.
For them, yes.
Yes.
It wasn't up, I'm sure. it would have been brought up.
We're okay with service kind of suburban. Who's using the line across the street? I forget.
The people.
Oh, for the Burns project, right. And we're doing the engineering study to finally figure out what it's gonna cost us to get that sewer line down. All right, any questions on any of these? No. Chad, you wanna move?
Oh, I just moved out.
Oh, never mind.
That's fine, I go back quick.
Jay, I'll let Jay do it.
If Jay's got it still in front of him, I just moved
I
back.
move that resolutions 23-31 to 23-41 be adopted.
I'll say.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ambeline,
Yes.
Mrs. Greenfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Mr. Merrill.
Yeah,
Can I just make a quick comment? I mean, I just want to highlight because there's been a lot of interest in 271 Mine Brook, that there was the resolution.
Actually, it's 275, I learned,
Oh, is it? Okay.
because 271 is the house we sold.
Yeah.
275 is our property.
So we have a resolution to start to look at the redesigning the entrance there and traffic pattern and what we can do with the front part of that to make it more usable for residents. So I know that's been of interest to a number, including some in the audience.
We also did discuss, in the meantime, seeing if there's anything that could be done, because since we're gonna be dealing with the state, this could take a very long time before anything actually happens on that project. So we did discuss seeing if there's anything we can do in the meantime that is not that expensive to just mitigate fix the turn, the right, that
Like the
sharp
public
right.
works department.
Yeah, like article, the sharp right hand turn, so you can see that if somebody's coming or
Yeah, that's
just to make it for the safety standpoint. So we did bring that up.
Yeah.
good.
Just wanted to point out too that the super study, that we're looking at, the funds for that are coming out of our American Rescue.
Oh, good.
Fund grant, which we didn't spend. We'd like.
That's true, because that's for
We checked on our
infrastructure.
side for things, important things that aren't recurring.
Yeah, perfect.
Some
Okay.
wise man said. I don't know who that wise man was.
My update, that's January 10th, I attended the downtown Bernardsville meeting that they held with local businesses at Community in Crisis. Had a really good turnout, talked about ongoing projects and what next year is gonna look like. A lot of businesses that we haven't usually seen came out, which was great. We hosted here in Bernardsville the January meeting of the Somerset County Governing Officials Association at Osteria Marini. We had a good turnout for that as well, and I got elected president for the year, the speaker was Ray Heck, who is the president of the league this year, so he gave us an update on all the fun issues in Trenton. On the 14th, Greg and I took 90 wreaths down from St. Bernard's Cemetery from the Wreaths Across America, so they are all clean and put away. Our Mayor's Wellness Committee met and we were working on the 2022 application, which I submitted on Friday, so I think March we'll find out if we moved up to the next level or not. I attended the Somerset County Business Partnership ELC lunch, which they usually have every 2 months. The speaker was Michelle, I can never say her name, Seekirka. She's the president and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Talking about their goals for this year, about bringing affordability to New Jersey, following up on the governor's speech. But their main focus is trying to keep businesses in the state, because we have the highest corporate tax rate in the country. So they're looking for comprehensive reform on, as she says, good companies equal good communities. So they're really pushing for keeping people in New Jersey. We had quite a rate of people moving out and companies moving out. I attended the Somerset County Stigma Free Committee. They're going to be hosting another mental health conference in May, mainly highlighting all the resources that are available in the county and looking to have it more for parents and families rather than just mental health professionals. They want to have the community know what's out there for people with mental health issues. And just a reminder, this Thursday at 10 a.m. at the library is Coffee with a Cop. So if you get a chance to stop in there. And we also we're in the process of hiring a new administrator. So we did our consultant, we had I think 29 applicants, which was, I think, pretty impressive. And I think he said it's the most they've had for any position they've been handling. And they've been going through them, and we now have like a top 5 list. So we'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be asking you all when you're available for interviews. All right, that's me. Tom.
Well, Mayor, maybe I'll just help with the committee announcements, most of them, except of course, to say we're all meeting this week. So personnel is meeting this week, partially on the administrators for finances meeting on the budget, and public safety is meeting on promotions, all things that we've been busy on for the past 2 weeks getting prepared.
Great. Monthly reports, I know they changed this the way they did the animal control. I didn't like it. I like reading the whole thing of what happened, you know, and if you really didn't know.
It did come up, it came up as another report, that one report we couldn't read.
Well, no, it just had like the person and what kind of animal it
Oh,
was.
you have more stuff?
Yeah, it should be very descriptive. I don't know why they changed it. Do you have any idea why it's different? From animal
I
control?
definitely asked them to change it back to when they did it.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
very
it's
difficult.
annual, so maybe that's why.
Was it the end of the year?
Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
Yes,
I think so, because there was stuff from July.
Maybe that's why, maybe that was just.
Summary then.
Your summary. Okay. So I like reading all the gory details.
A lot of that.
A lot of that. I know, yeah. Yeah.
And the funds.
So I'll move the reports.
Second.
It was cat and raccoon fight.
Yeah.
I'll second. What is the word we used to use, Jack, when we just want to move something, I'll move the report.
All in favor?
Before we move on, I have an administrative question real quick.
Administrative questions?
Yeah, I had a question for Tom before you're done. Just because I've lost track, last time we left the Polo Grounds progress, the engineer was working on plans.
Yeah, there's actually, you awarded a contract this evening,
For suburban.
So the, yeah,
That
for
was
suburban.
for that. Didn't we do that last week when Chad was in here? Last
Oh, that
time?
maybe I missed last week.
I think
Okay.
we did that.
so I'm sorry.
So we've now awarded the contract, and when can we expect the engineer plans back?
I think within, I think 3 weeks, I know, the next thing that's on my, top of my list is the architect's, preliminary sketch.
And that is when?
I'm expecting that, I think, this week.
I want to see it written. I will love, I can't wait to see it.
I know. Okay,
Thank you.
we are now up to public safety, which
We're meeting on Thursday.
right.
I accept it.
What, who doesn't really report it? Hmm? So you're meeting this week,
Thursday, yeah.
finance? meeting-
Wednesday. finance
Meeting
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Personnel, we're meeting tomorrow. Public works,
Public Works met, on the 17th. And some of it's been brought up already, but I'll just run through the list of projects, ongoing projects. So Boylan Terrace, we're just waiting for, NJTPA to meet and determine how the grant is gonna work in terms of funding and stuff for us.
oh, that's the
Federal.
Boylan Terrace.
It's a federal grant, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, the thing that Chad just asked about, the pavilion, the polo grounds, so the architectural and engineering work is in progress up there. Berners Avenue, we have a tentative schedule, including a resident meeting, which we will probably be making a formal announcement on that as soon as we firm up the date, but I think February 28th is what we have so far. We just need a location, so that way we can communicate with the neighbors and those affected that want to learn more about that project, because it's a big project. We just talked about the engineering for the sidewalk west of Boylan, so that's in the works. The pickleball court is pretty much done, but there's some stuff on back order, so that's kind of delaying the opening, so we're hoping for a spring opening for that.
If I could just jump on that, what we were talking about in Mayor's Wellness is making, when we have the official opening, is making it a big event instead of just a ribbon cutting. You know, maybe have some demonstrations and lessons or giveaways and really doing it up big, so.
What exactly is on back order? I thought there was a problem with the concrete.
There's two things, so there's a padding that has to go in,
Okay.
that's what's, I believe is on back
Fence.
order.
Tan on the fence.
Padding on the fence, and the concrete part, it's an issue, but I've been to courts before where there's a broom and you kind of just sweep, if there's a puddle, you just kind of get rid of the puddle, so we may have to open it like that,
Oh.
but, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds like about that go.
This one of the courts, not satisfactory, we've gone after damages.
Yeah.
From the contractor and mandated to come and fix it, but can't do it now.
That's your very polite way of saying you're not happy.
We're not accepting it that way.
Not accepted.
So that is, they look awesome. So stay tuned. Dam remediation, that's also a very large project that's in the works, and, final plan due to DEP by May 31st, so we're on track to meet that. There's also library roof replacement in the works. HQW is the same architect that's working on the pavilion, so that's their first priority, and then the library roof is after that. And then library restroom remodeling, we're just helping out with that in terms of helping them manage the project and purchasing, so.
And that could have, if I recall, the library received a grant for that. Again,
Yes,
actually,
yeah.
not a grant. Yeah.
Oh, a gift, yeah,
Right.
donation.
So then the other stuff in Public Works, so there's a project list, and then there's also like, I guess what you would call the day-to-day stuff, train station, Jack is working on that. Sublease, that's where we're at with that.
Yes, I submitted it to MB and waiting to hear back from them. So the ball's in their court.
And then just some other random items, we talked about the sewer. Really nothing else.
Can we go back to the pickleball courts? I'd like to understand, because we delayed the opening, what's the solution on the concrete?
So there's a slight dip, right, in the asphalt where it puddles. So where it puddles, it's prone to crack and not last as long. But so Christine was mentioning that a lot of these courts have these rollers that you could roll the water off. And I had two daughters, by the way, that play tennis, and we would go to US Open every year to watch the qualifiers. Even all those courts have
Yeah.
little things in it that have to be, wiped off, but this one's too big.
Okay,
So it has to be leveled up a little bit, and there's a way of doing it that looks seamless, it just can't happen in the cold weather.
okay, so that still is on the plan.
On the punch list, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it, okay.
Can I just mention-
We noticed this during our inspections.
Yes.
When you go through with your old punch list and all the things they have to correct.
Christine, can I mention the JCP&L? That's underscored that, yeah. So at Public Works, we had talked about asking our JCP&L rep to come to council. And the really point of it is, we're about to enter the winter season, well, we're in the winter season, but you know, when we really start getting storms in February, March. And so we wanted to just have a check-in on storm preparedness. Also ensure that residents know who to reach out to, who to speak with, and also allow council to ask any other questions as well. Just making sure that, you know, Bernardsville is always on top of their mind. And so it looks like breaking news. It looks like February 13th, she emailed us today and said she could potentially come. I think that worked with the mayor, so that should work. She had to go back and confirm that, but that's the plan right now. Why the mayor mentioned that right now.
Yeah, we thought it would be good just for residents to know how. What the whole process is that they do when there's an emergency, and how they, you know, kind of get everything lined up, and what the timing is, and who gets priority and why. And also, you know, a lot of times people will say, gee, you know, I haven't seen anybody on my street for days, but they're really working on the power station. And when they finish that, you know, then you'll get your power back, but people want to see a truck. So explaining kind of how the whole system connects, and I think that's important for people to know. And how they get in touch with them, and what's the best way to, I know they now have the map on, if you go to their website, and you can see on the map who's out, where they are. They're much better than they used to since Sandy. I think now they give you a reasonable time of restoration, and it's usually accurate. So they have made improvements, and I think we'd like to hear what they're doing and what they've done to improve. Yeah, so I think that'll be useful for the public to hear. And thank you, Al, for reaching out on that. Land use, I gotta put that committee together. We'll get to that. The other thing I forgot to say, I'm also putting together a committee for our centennial. So I think, Fran, you probably just got an email from me. So I'm reaching out to recreation, the veterans, the library, the schools, to get you know, a representative from the different organizations to start the planning process of what we want to do for our centennial in 2024. You know, we like to celebrate the good stuff. So, any other committee reports, liaisons?
Just one word, I guess.
Okay, Hanson.
Good, yeah.
So environmental commission, 4:15 is gonna be the Raritan cleanup. And stormwater training, do we have a list of who's taking stormwater training? Tom, is that came up in the last meeting, so it's something we can talk about it. So, yeah, it's supposed to be for the council, and I think also planning board as well, so stormwater training.
I think I did.
We gotta look at it. And then the green team application is gonna go in February. And then I'll move to real quick library. We met last week, talked about the budget and different offerings, and then of course to reiterate the golf event coming up. And if anybody's interested, to visit that.
Yes, recreation met on 110, and it was a reorganization meeting. The subcommittees, the new subcommittees were introduced, and the meeting schedule was set for the year. As far as the OPA subcommittee, recreation would like some guidance from council as to what the responsibilities of the subcommittee should be. Recreation is currently putting together rules for the pickleball courts and working on programming in anticipation of the spring grand opening. Trails information is now on the borough website. There is a link to it on the recreation page. Special thanks to the Trails Committee for content and to the borough's Christy Amato, who did an incredible job of pulling it all together. This is the first step. As more trails are created in March, their information will be added to the website. Upcoming recreation event, Love of Nature Valentine's Day Hike on Saturday, February 11th at 1:00 p.m. at the Mine Brook Park Trail. Look for the flyer on the Borough website and Facebook page. It's very pink and looks like this. APAC meets on February 2nd and Housing Advisory Committee, I don't have a schedule yet.
Okay, anybody else?
Gina?
Jean? No,
Planning board met, 2 Thursdays ago. The big item in the agenda was the Grayfield management application, which is the location right next to the firehouse. Final discussion and implementation of the resolution was made, so that, that application is now final and complete. Was it tonight? I didn't see the final resolution tonight. I don't think so. It'll be in the next one. Other than that, the other items you saw tonight, which were the lot line changes. But I'd like to congratulate the planning board on a great job, well done. It's the way it's supposed to work. And also congratulate Grayfield Manager Property. They can build a great location down the street.
Good.
Board of Health is actually meeting during taxing, so I'll report next time.
Oh, okay. All right.
But they moved it because of the Martin Luther King holiday, to this week, so.
Okay. Next, we have a request for a sign from the bona fides. I think they do this every year, if I recall. We usually don't have, it's, even though they're located in Basking Ridge, they serve the Summers and Hills.
My wife.
But they can't, yeah, she can't automatically do it because they're not a Bernardsville zoning officer, so they have to ask us. We okay with it? Yes. All right, good. I also, this is that. Oh. Yeah, the housing committee, I did have a, somebody to appoint. Because I know they're always looking for housing, and we are always looking for people, and I, have Patrick Constantinides, I don't know if anybody knows Patrick. It's a definitely English accent. Yeah, really nice gentleman who, he put in a skills bank not that long ago, so, and he's retired, so he can make that strange time that we need, which is what keeps us from getting that committee full. And what was the other one? Oh, we were just officially making you the liaison since we haven't really finished doing that. Okay. What was it?
Do you have HPAC?
Yeah, I didn't see they were the HPAC people. Am I missing that?
It's at the, it was that, and what I,
Here it is, okay. Housing maintenance and HPAC, yes. Because we were leaving them intact in the thing, so they wanted to meet, so we put that on there. And I think they're all still the same.
yes.
Yeah, we didn't have anybody new. So that is the regular people, so. And that's for your approval. So, somebody want to move 10B?
I move to confirm appointments of the mayor, to the appointment to the mayor, sorry, to the Housing Property Maintenance Zoning Compliance Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Adelaide?
Yes.
Mr. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Mara?
Yes.
And then we need 10B2.
We just did 10B.
Yeah, that was, so that was
We didn't do 10B1.
I thought that was one.
So you did 10B2.
The same, there is no.
There's nothing to read.
One didn't need anything.
Because it's
Oh,
their
yeah.
appointment, so we don't have to.
Okay. Sweetie.
Okay,
10B3.
we just did 2, so now we need to do 3. As in, you know, some I get to do, some you get to do, some.
So 10B3.
Yeah,
I move to appoint Diane Greenfield as council liaison to the Housing Property Maintenance Zoning Compliance Advisory Committee.
Second.
roll call, please.
Mr. Mara?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Mr. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. Adelaide?
Yes.
Okay. So now we are on to the agreement between the Borough of Bernardsville and Lowry Auto Body to park at 65 Morristown Road.
Yeah, I mean, I read it.
We don't own it though, do we?
We own,
So how can
We
we?
do.
we own it now.
Yes, we do.
You own 65, yeah.
We own 65.
Oh,
So,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
But they're parking their cars on.
So they want
Yeah. And we'd have to be able to lease, but I think we'd go a license. We're talking about short term.
They gonna
Well,
pay us?
why do we think it's short term though? This is my concern, right? They've been parking commercial items on what was private property, which is now borough property, which will become private property hopefully again very soon.
Yes.
I'm concerned that by permitting the badness,
To continue.
we're continuing the badness to continue.
Yeah, we can certainly, the victims.
Yeah, I think I'd be concerned more about the liability of them
Well,
moving cars.
they
you
have
know.
to do a hold harmless. They're gonna have to fill out a hold harmless. If they continue to park there, even if it's.
Well, can we charge them?
Yeah, we certainly can.
I would charge them for it.
I'm more inclined just to say, look, we're in the process of transitioning the property. We're gonna have folks in and out as we're showing the property we need.
It may make it more difficult to sell.
It may make it more difficult to sell if the property is not in proper order.
But they've been doing that already, right?
We're now aware that they were doing badness.
Okay,
Who enforces it?
that's the hard part.
Please.
Yeah. It's just checking on it periodically, but yeah, I think that's the smart thing is to not start it. Yeah.
My thinking was, if you really have to let it happen, then at least restrict it to a small area, like 3 cars or something like that. Because if you go out there one day and the whole thing is full of cars, then you let it happen. So you could say up to 2 cars or something. But
It's cleaner to just tell them no.
Yeah,
I think it's clean as snow now.
Jay?
Yeah.
No.
I don't really care.
Yeah, I'm good.
No, all right, we deny it. Okay.
Sorry, if they're doing it anyway, I'm just reading this, the letter from John McDowell. Should we ask them to put a hold harmless agreement together?
Oh,
or-
we should.
No, I think you don't.
No, I'm gonna say no. I think we're gonna say yes.
But and if they do it illegally, then we're not liable to take it.
Somebody's running record without that.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, we have a letter from Kathy Cisco, and actually I had another. I had 2 residents reach out to me about Round Top, about speeding on Round Top, and I forwarded it to Chief Remian, and he was gonna go up and speak to the residents. And we'll send that on to public safety.
That's like kind of a dead end.
It's a dead end and
And
it's
it's
a
all-
long street.
Is that why the?
It's very long. You wouldn't know it's a dead end until you.
But that's really too fast for us.
It is 35 is
But
pretty.
there was a reason why it went to 35 though.
But Christine forwarded this to me, and she and I both checked, it's not in the borough code, which means it's subject to the state statute. We could adopt an ordinance, but I'm not sure where the change came. Christine's theory is it may have been, it wasn't signed before, so they put up signs.
so
There's nothing in the borough code about it.
I don't remember it ever being anything different.
we never,
Oh, it had
in
no
her
sign.
email,
Oh, we just didn't have
it
signs.
had no sign.
So they put 35 on it.
But that,
Maybe they just put signs up.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Slow.
Who's they?
Yeah, the council can write ordinance, but it's not in the borough code now.
So we have to put it into the borough code. you're
Yes,
saying.
right, and it's a local street, so you have.
We
to
can
start
do
it.
that. So public safety.
People just
will-
discuss it, yeah. safety.
Yeah, I think it's probably.
And it's-
And you have to justify it.
I mean, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of obvious.
it should be
Yeah,
25.
no, I don't disagree. You just have to have a reason to state you're doing it.
We do not, so that reason does not need to include a traffic study or a speed study.
It can be, it can be better.
Just be Brian's wonderful opinion and we're happy.
Yeah, good.
Done.
Because I just said so.
That's right,
Yeah.
because Diane thinks it should. So-
I'd argue if it was a busier road, by the way.
Yeah.
Then we also have a letter from Robert Richardson. about the parking situation in the Prospect and Franklin and West Street. I don't know where we are with that. Is public safety addressing it?
Yes, I think, Chief is sending Tim to just talk to him.
Okay,
I think he's going down there to, investigate.
Probably more.
In my
Probably
personal
more.
opinion, and I've said this before, in that area, we need to start enforcing our parking codes. And not allow cars to park in the street illegally. And if they do, they need to.
Well, since the whole street's gonna be dug up soon, I mean. this
you
is-
can't have the parking in the street if we're digging it up, so that's.
Yeah,
gonna
but
be-
it's gonna be,
But it may be good to start it now, so it's clear, but
I think we have to start with the rules now.
Yes.
So when all the construction is complete, then we can, these are the rules and they're signed properly and we can enforce them properly. But until then, we're gonna be like limbo Looney Tunes.
Well, plus if that gives them time to find alternative places to park before the construction starts, if we start enforcing it now. So, hopefully. All right, so that's, so now we're on to council meeting protocols.
That was what I missed.
It's on unfinished business. Yeah,
Oh, that was a secondary email that came from. Got it.
yeah, 10E1 says, the council meeting protocols. This was our discussion, I know that you weren't here last meeting, was about, you know, because we've gotten complaints about people not being able to hear if they're on Zoom, even though we have the two owls here, and or people interrupting the meeting. So we've been talking about different ways that we can have the public be here. So. Comments? Anybody? We don't.
Well, what do you think?
Well, you were here last time. Yeah, I like people in here in person. I don't like to not be able to see who we're talking to when we're talking to iPhone 575 and there's a delay and people are talking over each other. We're waiting for them to give their name and address and they're not hearing us, and it's just, I think it's easier to conduct a meeting when people come in person and face to face and talk to each other.
I would be on the opposite side of the spectrum, as you know.
We,
I think the world we live in is hybrid communication. I would be supportive of keeping it the way it is.
It's good.
It may not be good, but it's become, look, everybody could argue cell phones, computers, all this other crap, again, it's not good. But it does, I do believe it increases public input. You know, I could completely virtual, so.
I know, I am here.
Well, like on that point, I think there should just be, no matter what way we head, there needs to be consistency, I think. So if we decide to go completely live, I think that means that council has to be here live too. And we get rid of the virtual option for council. And so everybody's here live, no exceptions. On the opposite side, if we decide to go virtual, I think there should probably be some standards put in for that. I'm not going to go virtual. If we keep it relatively consistent, how we have it right now. I think people should probably have to be on camera. Like to add, you know, because we're trying to create the sort of community engagement that we're looking for. And so if we do decide to sort of leave it relatively consistent, I would probably say that it's a requirement that if someone's going to speak, they're going to be on camera with their name, et cetera. And I would probably give first, you know, allow those live to speak first before going virtual. I know that's sort of what we do right now anyway, but you should sort of be rewarded for taking the time to come to Borough Hall to speak to council.
I'd like to point out, and I agree with what Al's saying. I would also say, and I appreciate the comments that have been made in the community. I've also heard from community members who feel that we haven't moved back to live fast enough. So questioning why some of the subcommittees are not meeting in person. So while I agree, you know, that there's definitely the want for more engagement, I think that we also have to find where that balance is. And I know some of the subcommittees, I would say, not council, but other committees are not meeting. And I know that's convenient, but, you know, I don't know that it's conducive to, the best way to do business. So I agree with that, what Al's saying, and I want to make sure that, you know, given the feedback I've gotten from other members of the community, that there are other perspectives out there in terms of being back in person.
I have some mixed feelings, and I definitely can relate to, you know, different stages of people's lives where they have no other choice and have to dial in. I like to think that we're a small enough town that we can, you know, we make ourselves very accessible as it is. I like to think that if someone like Kathy says, I can't come in person tonight, so I'm gonna dial in and say something, like, it's not a big deal. But at the same time, I like what Al was saying about having like a definite structure. So some thoughts, like just throwing it out there, maybe the first open session is live and the second one is virtual.
Is live only, the first one is live only.
I don't know, like, but that doesn't really.
If you have a,
If somebody wants to say something in that first. It's hard to make it like.
I know.
if you have an ordinance that happens to appear at a meeting where there's not people that, you know, it's kind of.
Yeah, because you could have people.
Yeah.
But today it went great without letting people unmute themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's
I
the
like that.
first time we've done that.
Yeah, I think that works very
Well,
well.
I think it's a standard as a
Well, we
meeting
haven't
operator.
been doing that.
Yeah, you have to keep people on mute unless we unmute them.
They have to ask to be unmuted, so that was an issue where people were unmuting themselves and kind of speaking out.
And something to definitely communicate to those who are gonna comment on the Zoom is that after 3 minutes, we can just mute you, like, and it's like, to me, that seems very rude. But I don't know how else to do it because you can't get through to them.
Like I was brainstorming off of Christine's idea, maybe we should be brainstorming in person, but like in tonight's agenda, you could have done the first, well, I guess the one's open, one's for agenda items is what you're saying.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
can't do that.
You can't do the first one.
Have hearings on ordinances kind of
Right.
at the beginning,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And requiring the camera is another thing. Some people just don't have a digital,
And actually,
some people don't have a computer, so how do you say you have to have a camera?
Well, and I think Jack said legally we can't say that, right? I mean, it's, we can ask, but we
Right, but we
can't
can't.
enforce it
That's right.
So we
that
can
is
say-
disconcerting though.
to not
I
have.
don't like it. I mean, honestly, Kathy, if I can call you out. I met Kathy out. She was like, "Oh, aren't you on council? I recognize you." And I was like, "Oh, yes."
Yeah, but
I
I-
had no idea. I had no idea who she was. You did, yes, but I had no idea who you were at first. And I wouldn't have recognized you because we never had seen you. Not, you know, you never on camera, always talking. I could tell by your voice, but that was it. Sorry to call you out, but it is a little disconcerting where we're known by everyone. But when people are there talking to us, then we have no idea who they are.
Yeah, I think that for me, that's the best point. right?
Although I'm all for virtual. I just.
I think that's the best point, you know, look, whether you're coming here to make a comment or whether we're here listening to the comment, they're all sort of public citizens and public volunteers, whether you're volunteering, you're not here to come here tonight. For me, I think there needs to be a face with the comment. For its full weight and consideration.
I have another question. And what if instead of speaking, they can write in the chat? No. Of course.
That's much worse.
It'll be a. Well, you don't have to say right to each other.
Well, no, if they want to ask the question, they can ask the question in the chat.
You can just,
And they,
So,
can you just have a question? You can have both, question and chat.
I mean, my entire life is running public meetings and work. Having chat functions in meetings is a terrible.
Okay.
idea.
I don't know. I mean,
It-
like.
We say it happens to go like this.
Well, and I took it.
It's, I think it's good, but we have a statement before, we actually don't want to have debate,
oh, that's true.
like, when we're doing the public, it's not for debate, it's just for comment.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Questions, I know.
I think if we just,
Throw a monkey wrench into.
Why not?
So in the event that council is dealing with an issue where you actually have to move the meeting to a gymnasium or something like that. I think that would present a real challenge to also have it.
Bring the owl with us.
Yeah, it's not sized for that, that type of audience. And, you're deliberately going out of your way to create a large venue to accompany a lot of people. And then to also have to deal with the online, dialogue. We just haven't done it before, so we don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
So to that point, I thought this was the case. If we lost internet access right now, and we haven't had the second public comment section, I believe we can continue with the meeting without that, because we're not required, if the technology's not working. So would that not apply if you couldn't get this to work in a gymnasium, where you say, this is an advantage, but it's not a requirement? Jack, I don't know.
That's how I wrote the draft resolution, was that it wasn't, if for some reason.
So one way that's probably a good thing to put in regardless, whether we allow or don't allow.
Right.
We shouldn't be required to
legitimacy
have.
of the meeting,
Yeah.
the validity of any action. taken.
Right.
Could we say, like, if you intend to attend virtually, please let the clerk know and you get an invitation?
Oh, God. Oh,
Yeah, sorry, Anthony.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes do that, but it is an administrative nightmare.
It's not really, it's not the attending part, it's the commenting part that we're dealing with, because people can always watch live.
It's
We've
the
always
best.
had that,
Mhm.
even before COVID,
We did.
correct?
Yeah.
Just
So the only thing we're talking about is the interaction piece of it.
Yeah, and the quality control in a large room with lots of people and we're comfortable with our technology in here, but I think we just have to be mindful that if you're trying to move to a big room to accommodate more people, maybe the best we could do is just broadcast that on YouTube, but not have it participatory for those folks.
Also, a lot of people come into this room, is not functioning.
And it's very hard.
You can't really.
I think people know that there's exceptions in a calendar year. Like, obviously, let's just say we had a huge meeting on, like, redevelopment's always an issue, right? So like a huge meeting on downtown.
Or you can say the budget, that's gonna go.
That's it, that's what I should say. Yeah, acclimated to the finance chairmanship. So, we had a huge meeting on any topic and we went to the gymnasium. I don't think anybody would, the high school, people wouldn't be expecting that. Like, we'll try to broadcast it just like downtown Bernardsville does, but that one exception, no one's gonna expect that they're gonna have the same virtual engagement. The whole point is to try to get the community. On the flip side, we do plenty, I shouldn't say plenty, but at least once a year, we do a virtual meeting only because we have stuff that we have to get through from a budget perspective very quickly at the end of the year before the holidays. So I think there's like a general recognition that there's going to be one or two exceptions, either all virtual or all in person in the year. And I don't know if that's necessarily, I think what we're trying to decide here is how we want to govern the general twice a month meetings and what fosters the best community based on that, and the best culture based on that.
Do you have an opinion on that? Do you more your opinion?
I mean, if I'm more my opinion, yeah, I mean, I still think.
What would you choose?
I'd probably leave it the way it is, but make sure. Encourage people to be on camera as much as possible and get preferential treatment to those who arrive in public. That's sort of what I'm thinking. And we can kind of observe how things are going over the course of the next, couple months and see how it's going.
I'm not.
One more monkey wrench into all this. When there is a very large meeting, I will say it's almost easier to manage if it's 100%.
Right.
Really,
There's no question among that.
I think you're losing face to face. I think we're totally losing face to face and a lot more. It's just more productive to be face to face with somebody, to having a discussion than some strange person out there wherever making a comment. I just think we're losing that personal touch together, and I think that's a problem.
And also, I think what happens is with virtual, you lose a little bit of civility.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I was just speaking from a technical.
Yeah. You know, I remember, I'm a baby boomer, you know, we like to talk to each other. What can I say? You know, and there's a whole different, you know, you can relate to people better when you see their body language, when you see their expression, which you can't, I mean, those people are so tiny there from where I'm sitting. Even if they have a camera on, I may not know who they are.
It's just a whole.
I don't know if that could be closer, maybe that would be
Well,
better.
I mean, so you can, so Anthony, if you wanted to go on somebody from the public, you can pin them to the big screen
When they're talking.
when they're talking. It would take, so the administration would be different, right? He's gonna have to unmute them,
The thing, you know,
and
the
then you
other
have to
thing
pin
is,
them.
we're also, Anthony is taking minutes, keeping track of time, unmuting, dealing with, you know, letting people in as they come and go during the meeting. You know, we're asking a lot of his attention.
I mean, we've had much less Zoom attendance, about as much as in-person attendance.
I know.
since- With the exception of maybe 1 or 2 meetings, so. I don't think it's a huge burden, and most people are just eavesdropping. And nobody's even really talking, so they could be watching YouTube anyway.
You see, I can't even read, I can see Harry, Olivia. I can barely read the names from here. I see Jay.
So I was made to give my opinion. How do others feel?
Yeah,
I gave mine.
Right, you gave yours, sure.
and Chad gave his.
I gave mine.
Are you open with paying towards me?
You must have.
He went-
So I would be fine all virtual. Look, I think if you're gonna, so the hardest type, in my experience, is a mixed meeting. It's much harder, all virtual is easier, and all face to face is easier.
Yes, I agree.
As soon as you develop a mixed meeting, there's all kinds of problems. All the ones we're just discussing, there's technical problems, it becomes harder. Those things can be managed. The biggest challenge in managing a mixed meeting is a cultural issue. Because the cultural experience online is different than the cultural experience in this way. Which you can get through it. It requires discipline, it requires some decorum, like the mayor's consistently reminding the folks on him. So what would I say? I'd say keep it as is. I think it's important right now for public comment. And if it doesn't work, I go all in person. With some of these small changes that we're making.
Yeah, I think the changes, if I'm kind of hearing what everybody's saying, is what we want to, which we started tonight, is not allowing people to unmute themselves until they're recognized, and Anthony would do it. So that's one. Second is asking people to put their camera on. We can't demand it, but we
Yeah.
can recommend that, you know, please put your camera on. We always say state your name and address, so they're supposed to do that. And to tell them ahead of time that when the 3 minutes is up, we will mute you.
Yes.
Does that sound like a place to start?
Yeah, and I would add one other thing, because there are circumstances, me, Paul experienced in the Buchanan Council, where every once in a while, there's some dialogue that exists in this room, they can't participate in that dialogue. If off the cuff, we break order, and we've done this sometimes, and there's a topic that requires conversation. If we break order, that order is broken here, not online as well.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
if they're muted, they can't.
They can't, exactly, but I'm saying when we're setting expectation is, if you only want to choose to participate online, and it's a sensitive topic that may require order to break, you can't participate online.
Right.
So I
We
know,
have the same problem sometimes with people in the audience.
Sometimes you can yell and you can bang your gavel and you can throw your gavel at somebody.
two other thoughts, like, I know I'm the pro hybrid camp over here. I do think those who show up first in the audience should be able to speak.
Yes.
first. I didn't do that anyway.
And
That should be, yeah. And the other thing is, I actually find the most difficult thing with the virtual engagement isn't residents, it's people who come for presentations, particularly like the engineering firms, et cetera. When they, I mean, listen, if someone reaches out to Tom and says, I really can't get there, I'm in South Jersey and, exceptions can be made. But I really think that like those who are actually presenting to council for like those longer 15, 20-minute presentations, just like the librarian would show up and speak to us, should actually be here live.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. It's very difficult to
Yeah.
hear and understand them, and you can't talk. to
and
them.
there's no doubt.
There's nothing.
Well, and the expectation along with it is you may not be able to hear as well online. And
Yeah.
short of creating a television studio inside of Borough Council, we're not going to fix that.
Yeah,
I'd also like to recognize, I think Karen had a good point in terms of, you know, if you're not feeling well, I know I'd prefer you not come. So, I think it's a good point in terms of commentary. If you're not feeling well, it makes sense to me that you can still participate. And we put that exception in for council. I don't know if it was just for illness. It was also,
For travel.
I think travel, et cetera, but, yeah, if I tested positive, I'd want to be up for a flu or COVID, I'd want to be on the meeting, but I definitely would want to be here.
yeah, I think we allowed that,
Yeah, that's for council we did it, but
but you only get
shoot.
two that you can vote. Yeah,
I suggest from what I'm hearing that we not do a resolution, that we leave it in the mayor's discretion as chair of the meeting to set the rules and see how they work.
Do we run into any problem if the system goes down with being able to complete the meeting? If people are expecting to be able to be heard, do we need to codify that?
Well, maybe the mayor can add that to her opening statement.
but we're gonna write for you, Jack.
Yeah. But I think rather than doing a resolution, it's
Yeah.
kind of open-ended at this point in time.
Well, and I think what's important is this is a council meeting held in public. It is
Yeah.
not a public meeting. It's not a town hall meeting. It is a council meeting where we're doing borough business and the public is invited to attend.
Right.
But it's our meeting because we have business to do. And we have to do that even if the television goes down. We're still conducting business.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also like to add that, our meetings are sometimes very long. And because somebody's on Zoom and cannot hear, like what Chad, you did a lovely job translating on behalf of Jack for our resident. But I don't want to make our meetings any longer than they are. So if they can't hear, they can't hear, and they can come in and get a response at a later date or send an email. But I don't want to make our meetings longer because we have to translate between people that are talking and they can't hear.
Yeah.
And can we stress, the name address, because it seems like everybody who is virtual never remembers to do that, and then they're constantly address, and then you have to cut them off until we can get through them.
I'm wondering if there's a feature in Zoom that when they're in the waiting room, can you put a message to people in the waiting room?
I'll see, I might have to turn the chat function back on to do that, but I will see if I can do that without turning the whole chat function on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a way to have
Just a message over for the waiting room.
that would say, here's what the
Laugh is.
I do think that when we were doing the redevelopment stuff, I think there was a bandwidth issue either at the residence home or here, but there was just too much communication that was like scrambling stuff and it impacted the quality. And these things are great for a small meeting like this, but when you start getting to hundreds of people here and online, Howell's head was spinning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll do our best and we'll see how it goes. But I think,
Here's what I have, and it's in no particular order at this point. You cannot unmute yourself. You have to have your camera on, give your name and address. Technical failures will not invalidate the meeting or any actions taken. And you will only be able to comment during the open session and ordinance public hearings. To cover what Chad raised, which I think is a good point. Anything else that we should?
3 minutes, you'll be muted,
Yeah,
just so you know.
the ones already there, yeah.
And this only applies to our regularly scheduled meetings in Borough Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you got it, is there anything else?
Just, it's not really for that, but when we do have individuals come to do presentations more from a professional standpoint,
Yes.
try to get them here in person.
Yeah, I think that's over.
Yeah, that's
dangerous.
I think, well, if they come in person and they've got a PowerPoint, if Anthony puts it up,
Yeah, I can do that.
you can do it on this screen, and that way the people online see it and we see it, and I think that's a lot better than when they.
It's just easier for us to understand presenters than
Yeah.
here.
And have a dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're gonna put the in-persons first, or is that?
That they get,
They'll give it to me, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The mayor already does that.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Yep,
Good compromise?
and we can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as I said, we'll see how it goes, if there's a,
Yeah,
any kind of issues or problems, we'll readdress it.
okay, sounds good.
It was much better with not having the noise come.
Yeah.
Any new business? All right, this will be our second open session, same protocol as the first one, but this is on any items that we didn't have a public hearing on. So, anyone would like to be heard? Please raise your hand or whatever, and, wait to be recognized. Aaron?
Thank you, Aaron Duff again, 51 Crestview Drive in Burnsville. I just wanted to formally thank the council for the resolution on the Minor Park spending. As I said before, I think that the start of getting that park up and running and really starting to see its potential is getting people in and out safely. So I'm really looking forward, eagerly awaiting, what the solutions they have. I think, as Councilman Greenfield said, it's going to be a long process with DOT. Let's turn around and get it moving. So, thank you for that. If you do have JCPL's ear, that whole park is crisscrossed by, utility poles, overhead wires, drooping telecommunication lines. I don't know, maybe worth mentioning. I don't know if they really care about, private poles and things like that, but it would be great to have somebody go over that and see what's still necessary and what can be clipped, because it's just hanging down in a lot of places. And the one thing on the driveway, if we do anything, and I know that, there's a line there somewhere. I just don't know exactly where it is. If we're gonna be widening it or trying to, reduce the steepness of that curve, and, obviously just gotta make sure it's on the right side. I think that there's, interim measures that we could take, on the, pedestrian access to it, that I think we should pursue, because like I said, it's gonna take a while, and, I think that would be a way to ameliorate that in the interim, so. But thank you for the big first step.
Great, thank you, Aaron. Thanks for your interest. Anybody else like to be heard?
Kathy Peachy, 70 Chilton Street. Is it a difficulty to get these soft-spoken gentlemen their own microphones?
We've tried that.
So the microphone doesn't project into that. So no one has a microphone here because the systems can flip with each other. We'll continue to work on it. Might buy a third.
And that wasn't a criticism, I think it was. Yeah, we've done it. Okay, and,
I want you to hear this.
well.
Worse than we're back here.
Yeah, so we moved up.
Yes.
Okay, well, and then I feel a little silly asking this or just mentioning it, but better before than after regarding the pickleball courts. So I know in some communities, there's such a fever to be on them and play with them, they actually have scheduling issues. So I didn't know if you had some rules in play, and I don't mean, no dogs and no skateboard, not that, but it's so that there's fairness for
Like the amount of
different groups of people, yeah, sometimes you see they're on tennis courts, whatever the rules of play are.
I think you just mentioned.
I just mentioned, Variation is working on that.
Yeah, thanks. I think they will be in big demand. So. I don't, your table is very far back. Can you move your table forward?
Yeah, we're pretty good, I guess.
I'm just looking at where that table is.
Don't
compared to
crowd
the
the
next one.
There was-
Slowly.
there was one back here.
We're gonna get you up here.
I have sat there.
Yeah, there was a table down here.
When we sat court here.
Yeah,
were
there was a table here.
Witness tables and attorney
And
tables.
so you sit there in front of the court, yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
We got one,
oh, is there a hand up?
Yeah.
Carrie,
I will ask on mute. Yeah.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm all unmuted now. I just wanted to make a comment that from my home court here, that the audio has improved a lot over the course of the months. And I think that the council members have made a good effort to speak one at a time. That does help. Certainly in a big audience, when people start murmuring and talking, it can be difficult. But as Kathy mentioned, and as Chad was helping to translate, it is the side table that is generally the issue if there is an issue. But I do think that it does behoove council to keep the virtual option, just because there is the option for people to attend if they're not feeling well, if they're traveling, if they're older, if they've got young kids at home. And as we try to get more and more volunteers, this is a way to reach out and to make sure that everyone knows what's happening and feels like that their opinions are valued. So I applaud the council at continuing with the difficulties of the hybrid method. And I will try to get down in person more often, but I do think that it helps Bernardsville to the council to reach more people and for more people to know what's going on in our great borough. So thank you.
thanks, Carrie. Yeah, and I think actually that it's not so much people not being able to attend, it's being able to speak is really the issue that was,
Okay.
yeah. Very good points. Anybody else? All right, I will close the public hearing. We are going to have a closed session. And we are not coming back to public, so thank you, to those of you who are here. It's not that late. Take some cookies on your way out. Do I have a motion to?
Look to join.
Well, second session.
Second.
All in favor?
Thanks, everybody, for coming.